Namaskar to all of you and welcome to our next session on the yogic life. So before we read the pravachan, what is this world? I wanted to talk a little bit about bondage, right? What is the way to freedom from bondage? Bondage is the bandhan, right? The bandhanam. What is the way to get freedom from the bondage? Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho bandhah tu vishayasangi mukto nirvishayam tata. So uh, according to this shloka, mind is the cause of bondage and is also the cause of liberation, right? The same thing is the cause of bondage and is also cause of the liberation, of man's liberation, right? So mind is the cause of bandhan and is also cause of the moksha, right? Why is the mind the cause of bandhan and also the cause of moksha, right? So we human beings, we have the swatantra ichha, we have a choice, right? Whether we want to follow the pashu jivanam or we want to follow the manava jivanam, we have a choice. Other beings don't have the choice. So we have the swatantriyam, we have that independence, the manasika swatantriyam, right? The beings which are different, which are other than human beings, they don't have this manasika swatantrata, right? So they don't have this independent mind. So if you look at the animals, they have the sahajata vritti, inborn instinct, according to which they do their work, right? They cannot do anything beyond that, beyond the inborn instinct, right? But when you look at human beings, we have an independent mind. So if we want, we can get bound, or if we want, we can get liberated. So we have the choice, which is a very, very important choice, right? How we use the choice is really up to us, right? So we know that 99.99% of the people use the mind for bandhan, not for mukta, right? So that is the main difference between animals and humans, right? So the mind is the cause of bondage and liberty of human beings. In the case of other undeveloped and underdeveloped living beings, there is no mental liberty. That is why they do as per their inborn instincts. They have no choice before them. They are guided by their inborn instincts. But human beings, we have an independent mind that we can do according to the desire of our mind. So if the selection is in the favor of salvation, then we attain salvation. If the selection is in the favor of worldly bondages, then we get bound. We get bound by the worldly bondage. So that is actually the thing. And that is the fundamental difference between human beings and animals. So now the question is, how do we become great? How do we get this moksha, right? When the object of the mind is small, right? Small object means if the object, any object, mind is savishayakam, right? It always has a vishaya. Mind can never be without a vishaya. It is always savishayakam. So when the object of the mind is something very small and crude, then what happens? The mind becomes small, right? When the mind becomes small, then obviously you're going to get bound, right? You're going to get bound you're going to have the worldly bondage. But when the object of the mind is something which is very vast, which is something which is very great, something which is infinite, then what happens? The mental plate also expands, right? When the mental plate expands, then that person becomes a great man. He paves the way for moksha. So whether we want to keep our mind small or whether we want to make our mind large, expand our mind, is really up to us, right? We might be giving. So in that context, I want to say, like, when it comes to the yoga nishta jivanam classes, we have seen how people come and go, and the other worldly things take a priority, right? So we see that something or the other comes up, and this yoga nishta jivanam class just goes, it takes a back seat, right? So the question is really in our hands, whether we want to use our mind to expand our mind, expand the mental pabulum, to make it big, so that we can get this, make the mind karanam for moksha, or we can make the mind entangled in worldly objects and make the mind karana for bandha. So that is why it said mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. So what we want to do is really in our hands. And as we know, as we see, that all of us, most of us, we want to keep our mind engrossed in the bandhana. So but how do we make that choice, right? Keeping the mind bound in the worldly things is very easy. You don't need to do any effort, because it is natural, that is what we do, right? But working towards moksha is something different, right? That needs courage, you need to be a dhira, you need to be a very courageous person to challenge the norm and say, no, I don't want to do this, right? So to become great, to become big, or to become small, to become little, it all depends on the mental object, right? What is your object of your mind? If the object of your mind is Paramapurusha, then Paramapurusha himself is vast, he's great, he's infinite. So then your mental plate also expands, and it also becomes like Paramapurusha. On the other hand, if the object of your mind is worldly things, right, then your mind becomes really, really small, right? Your mind becomes small, then the mind is the karana for bandha, right? So we said that bandha tu vishaya sangi muktaha nirvishayam tata. So I said that mind always has a vishaya, it always has a vishaya. So the vishaya of the mind can be big or small. The vishaya of the mind can be the worldly things, or the vishaya of the mind can be Paramapurusha. So if the vishaya of the mind is worldly things, right, then one gets oneself ensconced in that littleness, then you become an ordinary jiva, right? Pashubaddaha bhavet jivaha, pashabaddaha bhavet jivaha, pashabaddaha bhavet jivaha. So when you get entangled in the worldly objects, then your mind is bound, that is, you have a pasha, right? You're bound. Pasha means bondage, right? Pasha muktaha bhavet shivaha. One who breaks the bondage, he becomes Shiva. One who frees oneself from the bondages of pasha, then one becomes Shiva. When the object of the mind is infinite, right, infinite cannot be brought under bondage, right? So because in that case those bondages should be bigger than infinite, which is actually impossible. So that very entity which is infinite is known as Shiva. So under the bondage of pasha, the same entity is called as jiva, and when freed from the bondage of pasha, that entity is called as Shiva. So we have to decide whether we want to be Shiva or whether we want to be an ordinary jiva, right? All of us, to be an ordinary jiva, no effort is required, because that is the norm. Pashabaddaha bhavet jivaha, pashamuktaha bhavet shivaha. So what is your spiritual practice? Your spiritual practice is a never ending endeavor to free yourself from the bondages of pasha. So it is quite natural that every week we will have something or the other coming up, something or the other taking our time, something we feel is more important than the Yoganishta Jivanam class. But that is the choice that we have to make, right? Whether we want to be an ordinary jiva or whether we want to be Shiva. So you might say that, yeah, being ordinary jiva seems so easy, I'll do that, right? Then that is the choice you do. Then what happens? The mind becomes the karana of bondage. Then you fall in the chakra of punarjanma, janma, marana, sukha, dukkham, all that. If that is what somebody wants, then they become pashabaddaha. So they become an ordinary jiva. So then they will fall in the samsara chakra, and they will be bound by this sukha and dukkha. But then somebody who wants to be pasha muktaha, right, that person will become a Shiva. He'll become a Shiva. So in order to get liberated from this pashas, what we need to do is we need to have discipline. We need to say, okay, this, what the topic that I have before me, the subject I have before me, the Yoga Nishta Jivanam, is important, is really important. It is elevating my mind, right? It is elevating my mind. It gives me peace of mind. It helps me progress spiritually further. It helps me to get liberated from these bondages. So then this is something very, very important. So then in order for us to progress in that, we need discipline. We need to take it seriously. We need to take it to our heart, right? Unless we take it to our heart, then this will just be like a subject. It will be like any other class, right? It will be any other Sanskrit class. I can attend today, I cannot attend next week, then I'll attend the other week, then I will listen to recording, then I'll do this, I'll do that. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like a satsang, right? When it is a satsang, right, that satsang has a great value, right? It gives a great impact on your mind, right? Regularity is very important. Constantly listening to it is very important, right? Because we have this class only once a week, so we should all try to be as regular as possible. Unless there is an emergency or unless there is something unavoidable, we should make every effort to attend these classes regularly, right? It's only 1 hour class, or at the most 1 hour 15 minutes, so it is not that difficult that we have to avoid. We can't give any excuses saying, oh, I had something else, I could not get up, or I had something else, I had to go somewhere else. All those excuses are not worthwhile, right? Because we know that mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh, so we have the choice, right? So that is why we say the spiritual practice is a never ending endeavor to free yourself. So this is a struggle. It is a struggle, right? Someone may think that, oh, coming to this class is also a struggle. I don't want to come today, I'll come next week. Yeah, today I just want to relax, right? Again, there you have to take the challenge, right? You don't want to go however your mind thinks. You have to direct your mind into a positive direction, right? You have to say, no, the same mind is pulling me in the wrong direction, is pulling me towards the pashu jivanam, right, which I've been enjoying for so much. I don't want to do that, right? Because that is not the goal of life. That is not giving me the permanent happiness, right? The pashu jivanam seems very nice today. Something seems very, very joyful, and it just looks like, oh, this is what I want, right? But that is very, very temporary, transient, right? That the same thing which was giving you happiness, tomorrow is not going to give you the same happiness, right? So somebody wanted a very, very big car, right? Let's say they wanted a very luxurious car, and they dreamt of it and they bought it. That's something that they just were so passionate about it, and they were like so dreaming to get it, and they got it. And okay, one day they were happy with it, the next day okay, then the third day, do you think they're just completely happy with the same car? They're like, yeah, I got it, now it's done deal, now I want something else, right? So anything you have for that matter, something that you were like so desperate to get it, and when you get it, it's like done deal. It's no longer giving you the happiness that you are looking for. So we should be looking for something that gives us this permanent happiness, and that is not going to come easily. So one has to engage in this struggle. So we have to accept the challenges. We have to do the alinganam of the challenges. We have to hug the challenges. We have to say, I welcome you, right? Because why I welcome you? Because it is taking me forward, right? So so we are all sadhakas, right? We have enrolled for this Yoganishta Jivanam class because we were curious. We wanted something that will give us permanent happiness. We were not happy with our daily life. Whatever may be the reason, you chose this Yoganishta Jivanam class, you signed up for this class, right? So you should so when you signed up for this class, that means you should understand that you are a sadhaka. You are wanting something different from the ordinary. You are wanting liberation from the pashas, right? So if you're really a sadhaka, and if you're really wanting the liberation from the pashas, from the worldly bondages, then you have to engage in the Yoganishta Jivanam. You have to engage. You have to make a determination in your mind. I will come here, I will try to follow everything, I will try to do what is being said here, and then I will be regular. I will try to understand what this yogic philosophy talks about, how I can implement this in my life, how I can elevate my mind, how I can become a better person, how I can become a real true human being from inside and outside, right? So when you do that, then what happens is that, from my own experience, I can tell you that after implementing this yogic life, even when small things comes and tries to bother you, your mind doesn't go down so badly, right? Your mind is still, it's just maintaining its calmness, and it's like, yeah, I can deal with this, it's not a big deal, right? So that kind of calmness you want in life. You don't want your mind to be going up and down all the time, right? That is not good. That is not a good state, right? You want to have this manasika shanti. That manasika shanti is what everybody wants at the end of the day, whether you have money or whether you don't have money, whether you have house, whether you don't have a house, whether you have a car, all that is irrelevant. What we ultimately want is the manasika shanti, So for the manasika shanti, to be successful in that, we have to take the effort. We have to take this as a challenge. It is not like, oh, it is like a no time pass. I will come here today, I won't come there. Not like that. It's not like an ordinary class. We're talking about the Supreme. We're talking about this Parama Purusha, right? So we have to give that respect to the Supreme. We have to have the love for the Supreme, right? We have to have that attraction for the Supreme. We have to develop that attraction for the Supreme. Only then you can pave the way for liberation. Otherwise, yeah, it will just be okay. That means you have not done a drida sankalpa in your mind that I want to achieve this, I want to progress in this. That drida sankalpa is very, very important. That determination in your mind, yes, I want to implement this, I want to see what is there in it, right? Okay, we're talking about all of these things, but I want to see what is there in it. I want to really implement in my life, and I want to see it, right? People like who say I want to become a scientist, they have to engage in that, right? They don't just become scientists overnight. They have to engage in that. They have to constantly think, they have to do experiments, they have to do all sorts of things, analysis, thinking, and all that. The same way this yoga is offering a lot of things, right? It's giving you so much of shakti. And how are you going to know that whether you're going to get this shakti or not? The shakti to know this Parama Purusha. How are you going to do that? Right? Unless you engage in this, unless you are serious, unless you make a commitment, it's not going to happen. Then it's just going to be like any other class. It's just be like a Sanskrit class or an English class or some other class. You come, you go, and it's like it's not a big deal whether you attend or not. Okay, if I don't attend, I'll listen to the recording, I'll do some other day. It can be like that, but it should not be like that, because we are now talking about the supreme entity, how to attain that supreme entity, how to become great, right? That is what we're talking about. So that does not come easily. So we have to accept the challenges. That means we have to be regular. So even when we are not regular, what happens? The mind gets distracted by the worldly things. Then you don't remember this, because we are in the beginning phase, right? If you are an advanced sadhaka, then even if you don't attend 1 or 2 classes, it's not a big deal, because your mind is now stabilized in this. But if you are a beginning sadhaka, then it is very, very important that we have to make every effort, right? So there is a heavy shower of compassion on each and every jiva, right? But when Parama Purusha is giving a shower of love and affection, and if you are holding an umbrella, right, you are holding this umbrella of the worldly things, right, upon your head, then you will not get drenched by his shower, right? Then whose fault is it? Is it the fault of Parama Purusha? Is it the fault of you, right? Then it is the fault is the fault with the shower? No, certainly not, right? The fault is with your hand and with your umbrella of vanity. Is your umbrella of vanity, and that is why you are not drenched by that compassion of Parama Purusha's kripa, right? You're not drenched by the Parama Purusha's kripa because you are not removing this umbrella of vanity, because you're not removing this attachment for these worldly activities, right? You're not giving the attention that this deserves, right? Only when you give the attention that it deserves, then you will get drenched in the shower, right? The shower is the same for everybody. It is not like on somebody the shower is more, on somebody it is less. It's not like that. It is Parama Purusha's kripa is on every individual. Even though we might think, oh, why is it only I'm suffering, why is it the other person not suffering, we might be thinking all of those things, but we have to realize, we have to understand that Parama Purusha's shower of kripa is on every human being, and if we are not drenching in that shower, the fault is not with Parama Purusha, the fault is with us, because we have engrossed our mind in the pashas. We have let the pashas to bind us, right? We have let the pashas to bind us, and therefore we just become an ordinary human being, and we don't become Shiva, because we don't make any effort, right? We want to get drenched in Parama Purusha's kripa. For that we have to take effort. We have to take a drida sankalpa. So I ask all of you to take a drida sankalpa today, that I will engage in this, and I'll see what is it offering. So we've been talking about this for the last almost a year, right? Or 8 to 9 months. So what has this offered me so far? Is it just wastage of time that I come here and I go, or has it really offered me something? Let me engage in this. Let me see what it's going to give me. Unless you really wet your legs, right? You cannot understand. Unless you wet your legs, the dirt is not going to get off your feet. Same thing, you have to wet in this yoga nishtha jivanam. You have to drench, Only when you drench, you will understand the power of yogic life, how you can become a true human being, right? So having said that, each and every one of you who is in the class and who is listening to the recording, make a drida sankalpa that, I want to engage in this with my true heart, with my heart fully into it. Then you will understand, you will see how inch by inch you're moving towards Shiva instead of just being an ordinary jiva. Okay, any questions on this topic? Okay, so I think now we can actually go to our pravachan. What is this world? So we've been telling that this jagat, right? We talked about how this jagat, which is very very crude, but Paramapurusha is subtle. How can the seed of this crude jagat be originated from Paramapurusha, who is so subtle? So we said that this jagat, this Shristi, is only a projection in the mind of Paramapurusha, right? So if it is only an imagination in the mind of Paramapurusha, then can we say that the Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya? Can we say that Jagat is Mithya? Right? Is that assertion complete? Is that assertion true? Right? This universe is formed as an imagination of Saguna Brahma. So if it is only an imagination, then it cannot be reality, right? So if it is not reality, can we call this Jagat as Mithya? Right? Even though this Jagat is an imagination, is a projection in the mind of Paramapurusha, but it is the fact that Paramapurusha has taken that form. It is the fact that Paramapurusha his chitta has taken the form of this Jagat. So the imagination is true. The imagination is true. The imagination is happening is true. But the objects of the imagination are not really true objects, but they just objects in the imagination. So with that said, we can say that this jagat has to be considered as neither true nor false. It's something in between. It is a relative truth. Apekshikam satyam. Apekshikam satyam. It's a relative reality, right? So those people who say this, the Advaitavadis who say that this jagat is mithya, Brahma Satyam Jagat mithya, right? So we think that these Vedantis believe that Jagat is mithya, right? That is what we think. Right? They keep saying that Jagat is mithya, Jagat is mithya. But do you think that they really believe that Jagat is mithya? It's not like that. Vedantis really don't believe the Jagat is mithya, they themselves, because it is not that the rest of the world believes the world is real, whereas the Vedantis believe the world is mithya. The Vedantis also believe the world is real as much as everyone else does. So what they actually say is just a talk, right? Because their everyday lives prove that they don't believe the Jagat is mithya. Because only such a person who has, only such a person can say that Jagat is mithya with integrity, one who has realized Brahma through sadhana, right? Which the Vedantis, most of the Vedantis, they say Jagat is mithya, but they have not realized Brahma through sadhana, right? So from their day-to-day vyavahara, we can understand that they believe the Jagat is satyam. They believe the Jagat is satyam. They don't have realization. They have zero realization. So they just talked, right? They just talked. So that point I wanted to clarify. So when we say this, when we talk about this Jagat, this universe being an imagination, it is a thought wave of Brahma. Then how can we is that really true or false? So what we can actually say is that the imagination is happening in Brahma, in the mind of Saguna Brahma, and the chitta is actually taking a form. The form that it is taking could be imaginary and thus not a reality, but the fact is that chitta of Brahma has manifested itself in the form of this universe. So even though the form in which it has manifested itself is imaginary, but it is a fact that it has manifested itself in the form of the universe. So that is satyam. The universe has a form, so it cannot be said unreal. But at the same time, as the form is in the imagination of Brahma, it cannot be satya. So it is neither satya nor mithya, neither satya nor mithya. It has a relative reality. That is what we can say about this jagat. So we also talked about, so if it is an imagination in the mind of Parama Purusha, so if I have an imagination, then my imagination comes to an end after some time. But in the same way, will the imagination of Parama Purusha come to an end, right? So will the world come to an end in the future? That is the question that arises. So how can how this world has been created? The world has been created due to the influence of Prakriti. When Prakriti qualifies the Purusha through her gunas, then the Saguna Brahma has multiplied himself into this Jagat, into this infinite number of unit consciousness. So unless Saguna Brahma is able to free all of the unit consciousnesses from the bondage, then so long the imagination of Parama Purusha will continue. The number of unit consciousness, they are infinite, right? So there will never be a situation where Saguna Brahma is able to liberate all of the unit consciousnesses, and there will be a situation where there will be some consciousnesses, the jivas, remaining, and as a result this imagination of Parama Purusha will be it is nirantaram. It just keeps going on and on and on. So it never comes to an, and this Shristi never comes to an end, right? So that is what we talked about in the prior class as well. So you know, this Prakriti, she does her endless job, right? So she is not able to have an impact everywhere throughout the Nirguna Purusha, as we have seen, but she is able to do her job where Purusha gives the anumati, right? And that's when the Srishti will come. So the main take home point is that there is always new students entering the class, right? Prakriti is continuously going on and qualifying Purusha wherever she is able to do, and that process has always been going on and it will never stop. Purusha and Prakriti are both Nitya. Brahma is Nitya. So that is the real bottom line, and the fact that there is countless number of unit consciousness helps to illustrate the point, which is that there is such a large number of unit consciousnesses that no matter how many may get mukti or moksha, there is always going to remain some more, and not only they are going to remain, but from those but there is always new ones being created, because Prakriti is Nitya. Prakriti is always qualifying Purusha, always qualifying. So this nosha of avinasha or vinasha is actually mistaken. The fundamental thing that we are talking about is that Brahma is Nitya, and the only thing that is Nitya in this universe is Brahma, and Brahma consists of Prakriti and Purusha. Nothing else is Nitya but this Brahma, which consists of Prakriti and Purusha, both of which are Nitya. And the Prakriti's job is to go on qualifying and qualifying and qualifying. So there is no question of an end to this kalpana, this imagination of the thought wave of Parama Purusha. That is actually the take home point over here, right? So we'll actually go on to the next paragraph here. Okay, Pushpala Lata Bhagini, do you want to take this paragraph? Pushpala Bhagini, are you there?
Bhagini.
Yeah, you want to take this paragraph?
I'll take up. Creation is the thought projection of Saguna Brahma. How this creation has been formed is the imagination of Saguna Brahma needs explanation. Rama, although in prayer, can create Chandini Chowk in his imagination. His chitta takes the form of Chandni Chowk when his Ham Tattva thinks of it. Rama's chitta is a part of his mind, and Rama creates Chandini Chowk in his mind. Similarly, Saguna Brahma has created the universe in its imagination. Its chitta has become the universe as a result of the thinking of its aham tattva. As chitta is a part of a mind of Saguna Brahma, the universe has been created in the mind of Saguna Brahma. It has already been seen that in order to take the form of Chandini Chowk, Rama's chitta, a subtle entry, becomes like Chandini Chowk, a crude object. In order to take the form of a crude object, chitta has to change from subtle to crude. This change cannot happen suddenly. Chitta has to gradually become crude, and then alone can it take the form of Chandini Chowk, a crude object, properly. If milk has to be made into Shira, a thick milk product obtained by boiling away the watery portion, it cannot be done quickly. The milk has to be boiled until it gradually becomes thicker. Only then does it adopt the thickened form of Shira, thick form of Shira. In the same way, Saguna Brahma, subtle chitta, gradually crudifies and finally takes the crude form of Shritva, solid. Hence, creation, which is the transformation
Kshiti Tattva.
Kshiti Tattva, solid. Hence, creation, which is the transformation of chitta as a result of the crudification of chitta, must have gradually become crude from its subtle state. So we see that in this paragraph we see that the creation is the thought projection of Saguna Brahma. Now how this creation has been formed is in the imagination of Saguna Brahma needs explanation. So now a person sitting in one place thinks about another place. For example, if he is sitting in Prayag and he is thinking of Chandini Chowk in Delhi, can bring Chandini Chowk, he has to do it with the help of Chitta. The Chitta takes the form of Chandini Chowk, and it through Aham Tattva he is able to create this one of Chandini Chowk. So now the Chitta helps to form a subtle this one into a crude object, and then we can visualize what it is. So but this visualization cannot take place immediately. For the chitta cannot take the crude part immediately. So in the same way, Saguna Brahma also, the universe has been created in the mind of Saguna Brahma, and then it to become a reality or a crude product, this one it has to take some time. For example, when a milk product is available and you want to make it a Shira, so the watery portion should be eliminated, for which you must boil the milk, and this takes some time before it forms the part we want, the crude part. So the same way, Saguna Brahma's subtle chitta becomes gradually crudifies, and then it takes the form of a crude form, which is the Kshiti Tattva, and is the solid form. Hence, creation, which is the transformation of a chitta as a result of the crudification of chitta, must have gradually taken place, and it would have become crude from its subtle state. So this paragraph explains that.
Okay, Padmi, very nicely said, thank you. So in fact, this is actually a paragraph on a new subject. It's like a transition, right? So what is this world, right? How we talked about how there is a contradiction between the notion that that Purusha, the Shuddha Purusha, is subtle, but this universe is crude, and how this seed of crudity exists within Purusha, right? So we talked about all of that, right? We talked about the magician, we talked about the Saguna Brahma, and we talked about the limits of this upama of the magician, about how it's very useful to understand what we define as the object of reality. So now we have come to understand what this Vishwa is, that it is the kalpana of Saguna Brahma, and that because it is a kalpana, it does not mean it can be disregarded, right? It has a special status because we are all within the kalpana of Saguna Brahma, as contrasted with the magician's example, in which he has a control only over 100 yards radius. But with Saguna Brahma, there is nothing outside of his kalpana, outside of his imagination, except for the Nirguna Purusha. So we are all the created beings within this imagination, within this kalpana. We are all the players within his dream. So this dream is not like the dream of Rama or Shama. Paramapurusha's dream, this imagination, it has a special status. It differs from our dream, right? It is what we call the objective reality, right? That objective reality is relative truth. It cannot be called mithya. It is relative reality. Relative to what? Saguna Brahma, the Saguna Brahma's cosmic mind is dependent, right? Saguna Brahma's cosmic mind is dependent on the cosmic mind, as opposed to the absolute truth, which is not dependent on upon the existence of anything else. But this kalpana, has a special status, and we call it as the objective reality. Because why is it a special status? Why is this kalpana having a special status? Is because there is nothing in this world which is outside of that, right? Outside of the kalpana, there is nothing else, right? Only Brahma has only Prakriti and Purusha, so there is nothing else. We saw how that Purusha creates this universe using himself, right? So we never wake up in the morning and wake up from that dream. So this dream is something we all have to deal with, right? This dream is always Anandadayakam, right? It's not something which is Kashtadayakam. We will be talking about it like more going forward, but as we close this paragraph, just stating that we got the cosmic mind which has been created through the qualification of the Nirguna Purusha, right? The cosmic mind has the three tattvas, the Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta. So now as we go into the imagination of Paramapurusha, everything comes, when the universe is getting created, everything comes within the Karya Karana Bhava. So within the Saguna Brahma, everything comes within the Karya Karana Bhava. So just in the same way that ice cannot become vapor, just like that, ice has to go via the state of water. First ice gets warm, then it becomes water, and then it becomes vapor. So everything has to go through a process. There are phases, right? So when we are talking about the condensation of Purusha into progressively cruder forms, right? So here we are using the example of the milk, right? So just like how if you want to make kheera, you have to heat the milk and it goes through a process. Same way over here, this whole Shristi doesn't happen overnight. It is going through different phases, right? There is a phase of crudification, right? There is a stage-wise condensation of the Purusha. So that is what we are explaining over here, and it all doesn't happen all of a sudden, right? It is not all of a sudden that the cosmic mind imagined the universe and all of a sudden everything came about, right? As if there is no evolution, as if there is no gradual change. It's not like that, right? There is a Karya Karana Bhava, and everything is happening sequentially, progressively, and right. So that is what this paragraph is actually talking about. So can I go on to the next paragraph? Chandramouli Mohdaya, you want to take the next one?
Yes, Mohdaya. Saguna Brahma created the universe in its chitta by gradually crudifying its subtle self. How did creation become crude from subtle? Prakriti qualifies Purusha in Saguna Brahma, and that results in the creation of the universe. As in the case of unit consciousness, Sattvaguna or sentient Prakriti qualifies Purusha first, and Mahat Tattva comes into being. Sentient, is it? Okay. Sentient Prakriti qualifies Purusha first, and Mahat Tattva comes into being. This gives Purusha the feeling of I. Then Rajoguna or mutative Prakriti qualifies it further, and Aham Tattva of Saguna Brahma is formed. Lastly, static Prakriti or Tamoguna qualifies the Aham Tattva of Saguna Brahma, and Chitta is formed. The mind is composed of Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta, and all three are subtle by nature. The subtle or abstract word of the mind of Saguna Brahma is thus formed due to qualifying influence of Prakriti. Here they have Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta are gradual transformation of Purusha's consciousness. Mahat Tattva or Aham Tattva and Chitta, Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva and Chitta are all subtle, but Mahat Tattva is subtlest of the three. The next in the order of subtlety is Aham Tattva, and last is Chitta, its objective counterpart. There is one idea in Mahat Tattva, and that is the feeling of I. In Aham Tattva, we find another idea in addition to the feeling of I, and the idea of I do. Anything which contains a large number of factors is cruder than the one with less, and so Aham Tattva is cruder than Mahat Tattva. Chitta creates the result of action of Aham Tattva and thereby acquires objectivity, either subtle or crude. It is cruder than Aham Tattva. It has been seen that Mahat Tattva is the first to come into being. It is followed by Aham Tattva. Chitta is formed last. Thus, movement in the flow of creation is from subtle to crude. So, the question here is the influence of Prakriti is what creates the various aspects of mind, which is Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta. And as it is mainly from subtle, I mean the Chitta, it crudifies by the subtle itself, and how does that happen is the question here. And because from the unit consciousness, everything is subtle, and then how did it become? The crude is the progression is what is explained in this paragraph. So what they say is the less number of factors, then it's more subtle, and more the factors, it's the crude. And the first one to be formed is the Mahat Tattva, and Mahat Tattva with the influence of the Prakriti, understands the feeling of I. And then the Rajoguna, which is another aspect of the Prakriti itself, qualifies it further, and the Aham Tattva of the Saguna Brahma is formed. Lastly, the Tamoguna aspect of the Prakriti helps the Chitta to be formed. Now, the mind contains only, the first one, the Mahat Tattva, contains only the I aspect of it, whereas then the second aspect of Aham Tattva contains I do, which has got more factors. Therefore, we can say that, the Mahat Tattva is more subtler than the Aham Tattva. And Chitta does all the actions and it transforms itself. So it's got more cruder than the Aham Tattva and Mahat Tattva.
Chitta actually doesn't do the action. Chitta doesn't do the action. Chitta is the movie screen of the mind. It just becomes like the
forms. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the flow from here, the flow is from subtle to the crude is what is explained in this para.
Okay. So you covered the following also?
Yeah, the Mahat Tattva, right? Yeah, the flow.
Yeah, the gradual transformation. Did you cover that?
Yeah, Moses. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, nicely said, Mode. Oh, sorry, I was on mute and I've been talking. I'm sorry. Nicely said, Modaya. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. So, so what we are seeing over here is that the creation of the Vishwa, that is the in the creation of the Vishwa, the first step in the creation of the Vishwa is the creation of the cosmic mind, right? That is what is being described over here, right? This the creation of the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is Saguna. It is Saguna. It is created by the virtue of three gunas of Prakriti, and it contains elements which are produced by those very gunas, and this creation happens sequentially as described, right? So when the cosmic mind is created, first the Mahat Tattva is created, which is the feeling of pure I, and that is created by the Sattva guna of Prakriti, right? The Sattva guna is the first vector force to emit from the triangle, right? From the triangle, the in the Nirguna state there are innumerable triangles which are created in the Nirguna state, right? And the first force that is emitted from that triangle is the Sattva guna, and due to the impact of the Sattva guna on the Purusha, the Mahat Tattva is created, right? And then going forward, the Rajoguna of Prakriti influences the Mahat Tattva, and the Aham Tattva is created, and further the Tamoguna of Prakriti influences the Aham Tattva, and the Chitta is created. So we have the Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta. So all those three we have discussed in detail at the level of the unit mind. So now at the level of the cosmic mind, so what we discussed before was the level of the unit mind, and now we are talking about the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind also has the same functions, just like the unit mind. The cosmic mind also has the same functions. Chitta is the movie screen of the mind, Aham Tattva is the doer I, and Mahat Tattva is the I feeling. So we see that there is a gradual process, not a sudden process, right? There is this gradual evolution of consciousness becoming qualified, goes first to the subtlest one, which is the Mahat Tattvam, then Aham Tattvam, then Chitta, each having successively greater crudeness, right? Crude, although it is within the realm of subtle, because none of them can admit the transmission of tanmatras. We talked about, what is crude versus what is subtle. A crude is something that allows the transmission of tanmatras, the rupa rasa gandha sparsha, and subtle is something that doesn't allow the transmission of the tanmatras. So the cosmic mind, the three components, are all subtle. All of them are subtle. All of them come within the realm of subtle, right? But in that also we can say, comparatively, compared to the Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva is cruder. Compared to the Mahat Tattva, compared to the Aham Tattva, Chitta is cruder, right? So whatever the Aham Tattva wishes to see gets visualized, experienced by the Aham Tattva through the movie screen of the mind, at the same cosmic mind as it is in the unit mind. So the Aham Tattva is the doer I, and Chitta is the movie screen of the mind, right? So Chitta is the done I. So when we see a book, then the book is the object and the eyes are the subject, right? We've gone through the sequence in which then the Chitta becomes the subject, and the visual information of the eyes become the objective counterpart, and then Aham Tattva becomes the subject, and the Chitta is the objective counterpart, right? So the whatever process happens in the unit mind, the same kind of process happens at the cosmic mind as well, right? So so that is what this paragraph is actually talking about. Any questions so far?
Or if it's an imagination, why so much of process is another question which I'm not able to understand. Because if I have to imagine something, I can imagine anything, right? Instantly. So why all this process then? It's like, which I'm not able to get my head around.
What do you mean? Why why this process? Because
if we are all in the imagination of the Paramapurusha, why does it take?
Paramapurusha is in the Nirguna state, right?
Required. Yeah.
He's in the nirguna state. Paramapurusha is in a nirguna state where the gunas of the prakriti don't influence him. When Paramapurusha gives anumati, when he gives permission, then the gunas of prakriti influence the Purusha, and there is a gradual process through which all this happens, right? Because he was in the nirguna state without any gunas. So when the gunas influence, then the process is very, very slowly. It just gradually transforms. First the cosmic mind is created, then the panchabhutas are created, then the beings are created. Then each of the beings have the unit consciousness. The Saguna Brahma multiplies itself into the unit consciousnesses, and then there is this process, this whole process from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, right, of the Shristi Chakra, where first the single-celled organisms come, then plants come, and then the animals come, and then finally at from 6 to 10 o'clock, all the different beings come, and then at 10 o'clock we have the human beings that emerge, right? So this is actually the process. So the mind, the cosmic mind, is created from 12 to 3. From 1 o'clock the Mahat Tattva is created, 2 o'clock the Aham Tattva is created, 3 o'clock Chitta is created. So by 3 o'clock the cosmic mind is created, right? Then from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock the Panchabhutas are created. So essentially this whole process of the Srishti, even though it is an imagination, it is not happening instantaneously. There is a process, and we are trying to put all this in words and trying to understand. So this whole process is something even beyond words, but we are trying to put them in words and trying to understand how it is happening.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, Mother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So even when you're having your imagination, right? Even when you're having your imagination, there is a process to it, right? It's not like everything comes at the same time in your imagination. There sequentially it progresses, right? Your imagination.
Right. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So here also there is a sequential progress, right? There is a process involved. So there is a karya karana bhava, right? Anything, when we talk about a creation and we talk about Srishti, there is always a karya karana bhava, which is the first one that emerged and which is the next one emerged, and what is the karana of that, which is the karya, right? So first we have the nirguna brahma, when then prakriti influences, then first the mahatattva comes. The mahatattva becomes the karyam. The karana for that is the influence of the gunas. Then further the rajoguna influences mahatattva. Then the aham tattva comes. Aham tattva is the karyam. Karana for that is the gunas and the mahatattva. Like that, there is a process involved, and that's how the Srishti has been formed. Okay. Okay, next, Chandramouli Mahodaya, do you want to take this paragraph?
Yeah, sure, Mahodaya.
No, Sametam. Chandrasekhar Mahodaya. I'm sorry. Chandrasekhar Mahodaya.
Yeah. Thank you, Mahodaya. It was explained earlier that the universe is the thought projection of the cosmic mind. The influence of Rajoguna, mutative principle, creates a thought wave in the Aham Tattva of Saguna Brahma, and its objective counterpart, Chitta, assumes the form of the crude universe. Chitta is subtle in nature, and it has to become crude with the creation. In order to become crude, Chitta has to gradually take on the form of the 5 tattvas, or rudimental factors, that is the Vyoma tattva or Akasha, ethereal, Maruta tattva or Vayu, aerial, Tejas tattva or Agni, luminous, Jala tattva, liquid, or Sthiti tattva, solid. All these 5 are crude, and the universe has been created out of these 5 rudimental factors. Tanmatra, we have already seen, is the subtle form in which the indriyas receive an object. There are also 5 tanmatras, that is Shabda, sound, Sparsha, touch, Rupa, image, Rasa, taste, and Gandha, smell. In the subtle sphere, we find that Mahatattva is more subtle than Aham Tattva because the former has only the factor of I exist, as compared to Aham Tattva, which has two factors, I exist and I do. Similarly, in the crude sphere, something which contains more tanmatras is cruder than that which contains fewer tanmatras. The complete absence of tanmatras makes a thing absolutely fine or subtle. This also shows that tanmatras cannot help in the appreciation of things of the subtle sphere where they are absent altogether. To appreciate those things, one needs bhavana, the introversial flow of the objective mind, while to know things of the crude sphere, tanmatras, are absolutely necessary. It is only with the help of tanmatras that things of the crude sphere can be perceived. Chitta assumes the form of the creation, which is crude, and as tanmatras are necessary to know things of the crude sphere, Chitta has to have tanmatras. It has also to form tanmatras, as there is no other source from which it can get them. The universe is thus created from Chitta, gradually manifesting itself as the five rudimental factors, bhuta, and the five tanmatras. So in here it's again explaining further in the whole creation of the universe from the cosmic mind, saying this is just a projection of the cosmic mind. The chitta of the cosmic mind, which is the crudest form. In fact, it says chitta is subtle in nature, but it has to become crude by, to make the creation happen, by forming the tanmatras. So they even seem to suggest that the tanmatras are in the chittas, formed by the chittas to become crude. And then it goes through the different aspects of the tanmatras, and going from just having one rudimental factor, the vayu, the akasha or the ethereal, goes through these five elements, akasha being the subtlest, and all the way to the bhumi or the sthiti tattva, going from akasha, vayu, agni, and jala, and then bhumi. And in that order of the progression of tanmatras, they get more and more tanmatras together and becomes cruder and cruder. And it seemed to suggest in there that the universal chitra or the chitta has to form all these tanmatras to become crude, to become the universe, since the universe is the crudest form of the Purusha. And in that, it is chitta, to become the creation. It adds in, all the tanmatras in there, and it becomes it manifests itself as the five rudimental factors, the bhuta, and the five tanmatras, which is, akasha through the bhumi, to become the universe. And it still is describing and defining it in how the entire the universe came from the Purusha. the Saguna Brahma, the Nirguna Brahma, to become the Saguna Brahma and to manifest itself as the universe that we see.
Yes, Maude. Very nicely said. Yes, that is the idea. So what we are actually seeing over here is a very, very interesting process, right? We are seeing here is a progressive transformation of Purusha, first into the progressive stages of development of cosmic mind, 3 stages, and then on the Chitta, the transformation of the Chitta, it becomes into Pancha Bhutas, right? The Sattva Guna is very predominant for the creation of the Mahat Tattva. Rajoguna is predominant for the creation and functioning of Aham Tattva, and Tamoguna becomes predominant for the creation and functioning of Chitta. Right? From there, that is, once the Chitta has been created, then Tamoguna remains dominant, and its dominance leads to further condensation, further crudification of the Chitta sequentially into Akasha Tattva, Marut Tattva, Agni Tattva, Jala Tattva, and Kshiti Tattva. So those 5, the Vyoma Tattva or Akasha Tattva, Marut Tattva, Tejas Tattva, Jala Tattva, Kshiti Tattva, they are all 5, are all created within the scope of within the Chitta, not separate from, right? It is not that they have a separate reality from Chitta. Chitta is taking the form of those things. There is nothing else to take the form of those things except Chitta. So it is all happening in the cosmic mind at the level of the Chitta, and under the direction of Aham Tattva of the Saguna Brahma, under the direct impact of the Tamoguna on the Chitta. So the first Sattva Guna is crudifying at a very subtle level of the Nirguna Purusha to the Mahat Tattva of the cosmic mind. Then Rajoguna goes from there and creates the Aham Tattva of the cosmic mind, and from there the Tamoguna becomes dominant, creates the Chitta, and then sequentially within the Chitta those Panchabhutas. That being said, the Panchabhutas which have these gunas, the Rupa Rasa Gandha Sparsha, that being said, the cosmic mind in its 3 forms are all subtle, right? Subtle means that which does not admit the transmission of tanmatras. Like for instance, if we think about Akasha, how do we understand Akasha? Is through the sound, right? It has only one tanmatra, which is the Shabda tanmatra. Then when we look at Vayu, it has 2 tanmatras, Shabda and Sparsha, right? And how do you feel the Vayu, right? You can hear the wind blowing, right? And you can feel the the sparsha of the Vayu. And then Agni Tattva, you can also see the Agni. It has Rupa. It also has sound. When fire burns, we can hear the sound, and also you can feel the touch of the fire. And when we look at water, it also has the Rasa Tanmatra. Water, you can hear the water flowing, right? You can feel the touch of the water. It also has the Rupa. Water has the Rupa, and also it has taste. Water has taste. Then when you look at Gandha Tanmatra, it has Rupa. It has Rupa. It has Rasa. It also has a taste. Excuse me. No, not Gandha Tanmatra. When you look at the Kshiti Tattva, it has the taste. It has Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. It is also having smell. Additionally, it has smell. Sparsha, you can feel the touch of the Kshiti Tattva, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha, and also Shabda. You can hear the sound from the Prithvi. So it's admitting all the 5 tanmatras. Therefore, you can say the Panchabhutas are all crude, right? The cosmic mind in its all 3 forms, it's subtle, right? Subtle means that which does not admit the transmission of tanmatras, right? Tanmatra means tat matra. Tat matra means the smallest essence of that. Right? So if you're talking about Shabda Tanmatra, then it is the smallest essence of a particular sound, whatever that sound may be, which conveys the essence of that sound. The same with Sparsha Tanmatra, Rupa Tanmatra, Rasa Tanmatra, Gandha Tanmatra, right? All of them are conveying the smallest essence of something which has varying degrees of crudeness, right? That we have discussed earlier. So this is actually where the actual crudeness begins. There is no crudeness until we get the Panchabhutas. although we theoretically speaking we say that chitta, because it has three factors, the I exist, doer I, done I, chitta is cruder than the aham tattva and the mahat tattva. But this is only a theoretical discussion about crudeness, right? It is not like we can see the chitta, it's not like we can see the aham tattva or mahat tattva. They're all in the sphere of subtlety, because they do not admit any transmission of tanmatras, whereas the panchabhutas admit the transmission of tanmatras. The akasha tattva admits the shabda tanmatra, vayu admits the shabda sparsha, and the tejas tattva admits rupa also, sparsha, shabda sparsha, rupa, and jala tattva admits the rasa tanmatra also, and then the kshiti tattva admits all the five, gandha also, rupa rasa gandha sparsha, right? Whereas when we go inwards, if the mind goes inwards rather than going outwards into the world, it goes inwards to think about something in the mental plane, then that requires bhavana, not tanmatra. That is what is being said. So if the mind is going introversially, then what happens as opposed to extroversially? Then the introversially flow of the mind, there we require the world of ideas, right? So that requires bhavana to understand. Whereas if you are going outwards to see a book or to drink water or to do something, then that requires tanmatra, right? So the actual crudification starts only from the panchabhutas. When the tamoguna influences the chitta to a great extent, then the panchabhutas come about, and panchabhutas are all crude. They are crude. They come within the scope of perception in varying degrees, right? So that is what this paragraph has been talking about. So there's a small paragraph. Hamsini Bhagini, do you want to take that? Are you there, Bhagini? Actually, Hamsini Bhagini, are you there? Can you speak? Okay. So if that is the case, then time is actually up. So we'll actually wrap up the session over here. Any questions? Any comments?
I was going to say, it's just like, when I dream, everything in the dream, for the dream characters, it's real. If you dream of Rama and Shama and the river, for the character Rama and Shama in the dream, they're real. They don't think that they are not real. Even I in my dream is real. I feel a thirst. I have all the feelings, the fear, joy, and everything. And now, if we come out of that dream, now we are all dreams in the dream of this cosmic entity. So we, being in the dream of the cosmic entity, we feel we are real.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I in my dream had real thirst, had real fear, had real anger. So now I'm in someone else's dream, right? I think I'm real. Now what we are saying is just like my dream, I'm a character in this cosmic entity's dream, and I think I'm real. And maybe I'm not. I'm just an entity in the cosmic dream.
Yeah. As long as the imagination is going on, everything appears real, right? Just like how we saw that imagination of that the magician's trick, right? As long as we are within that imagination, everything appears real, right? So only when the spell of imagination is broken, then we understand it's an imagination, right? So like that, the Paramapurusha's imagination is never broken, right? Therefore we feel everything is real. We are in that imagination. We are seeing, if there is a tree in front of me, I am seeing the tree, and you're seeing the tree, and everybody is seeing the tree, and we feel the tree is real. Even though the tree is in the imagination of Paramapurusha, I'm actually seeing the tree, and you're also seeing the same tree. So both of us, we feel it is the same. I'm seeing you, you're seeing me, and I feel you're real, and you feel I'm real, right? Even though everything is happening in the cosmic mind, but as long as we are in that imagination, we feel it is real. So it's the same thing even when we imagine, we feel things are real, right? As long as we are in the imagination. If you're having deep imagination and you're lost in your thoughts, then we feel it is so real. And only when somebody comes and shakes you up, then you feel, oh my God, it was just a dream or imagination, right? So yeah, so that is how it is. And even for that imagination also, there is a process. It just happens like that, right? Because the prakriti is continuously working on the purusha, and it is happening slowly. It's happening slowly, gradually it is happening, right? There's a gradual process. So this Karapatra very beautifully explains all this. It is like so logical, and it is so beautiful. You will not get this anywhere. You can go and look about the Shristi Chakra in the Vedas, and everywhere you can go. It is not going to give you in such detail. This is so beautifully elaborating, and it just fits so well. In the next class, I will also show you a pictorial description of how this whole process is working. So then you can get a better sense, right? Okay. Okay, then I think we'll end the session over here. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Dhanyavadaha. Namaskaraha.
Dhanyavadaha. Namaskaraha.